Myself, Vinu Daniel, and I studied architecture from Trivandrum Engineering College. Thankfully, at that time, my professor told me that there is a place called Auroville Earth Institute, and they teach truly eco-friendly practices. You can go and learn from that place. And Trivandrum is also the base of Gandhian practitioner Laurie Baker. So armed with some ideologies of Laurie Baker, I ended up in Auroville Earth Institute. Little did I know that practice would be a difficult run, So the whole aim for this panel today is for many people. Many people really love to do eco-friendly projects. But we all come from probably middle class or a particular background where without a lot of resources, convincing a client in today's world of eco-friendly practice may be a bit more difficult. So when ID Design invited me to do a panel, I said, how about searching for the realities of a sustainable practice? How difficult it is to do it or how easy it is to do it. And basically, I searched, first of all, from my alma mater, Auroville Earth Institute. Radhika is here representing Satpray Maini and Ayyappan Chettan. And then we went all the way to North, and he calls his firm also Live North. Rahul Bhushan, who is from Himachal Pradesh. And then many years ago, a young student from SPA turned up in my doorstep saying, I want to learn a bit from you. And now he is a thriving practice along with his wife, that is Udit, Mittal and Kirti. So they are doing their practice in the east part. So basically we have covered most of the regions in India. And today we are trying to see about what all are the hurdles or informations or misinformations that follow sustainable architecture. So first I would like to introduce Rahul Bhushan to start with his few presentations so that you can understand what his work is like. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinu. I think when we talk about sustainability, architecture as a word, attaches to it in a very later stage. For me, it starts with the place, and it's very important to detach ourselves from this word architect and a designer. When we are speaking about that, when we are looking at us from that angle, certainly sometimes a lot of different social kind of barriers and expectations, they start joining that word. So I wanted to detach myself from that, and because I was coming from that region, I just wanted to experience and learn the values that were being passed down. And for us, sustainability is the first thing that it starts from is your values and your context, because there's so much of information there which we need to understand first and then start reflecting on it through any creative profession. So Himachal, being a place where it grounds you a lot, it teaches you slowness, it brings you those energies and those context, and then you start understanding what is happening around right now. Second very important thing for me was sustainability, but in terms of longevity of the cultural values and aesthetics that are being carried. To understand what people are doing, how they are living, how the activities are changing, but also what is that thing that has kept those values travel down thousands of years. There must be some anchor. That anchor becomes very important for us to start reflecting and jigsaw puzzle and attaching that puzzle together. Again, the cultural values are also the ritualistic things that are happening. For us in Himachal, the Devi Devtas culture is one of the most important thing. And when Vinu came there, we got to know that, your Mahabali is the Rajabali in Himachal, and
We share common gods.
yeah.
All the way from south to north. So
Yeah, and you know, it was very eye-opening for me also to reflect that, you know, the similar energies are residing in so many local cultures in different parts of India, and somehow those got stepped over, and we just kind of forgot, you know, about what was the value that was being carried through those rituals, and that became a very important anchor again. So the architecture things, you know, it came very towards the end of the entire journey. And then the craftsmanship. So craftsmanship as a reflection of those cultural values, you know, why we are building with wood, what is the importance of that, why a particular stone, why was not the nails used there, what was the kind of the wisdom that was carrying down from those rituals into an expression which was more materialistic. So, you know, to understand that became one of the process. And then finally, how it can be reflected, because currently we are in a, you know, like I finally ended up expressing myself into buildings. So that became one form of an expression that was coming through those values. And, so, you know, I'll just take you through very quickly through some projects that I have been doing. The focus was always how we can use the indigenous knowledge systems and also not treat it as something which is a nostalgia or something of past or something that we have to just, you know, preserve. Something that can show world where a sustainable future can head to. And for me, it intuitively came through the natural materials, carrying forward that craftsmanship, that knowledge of, you know, that physical endurance, like we were talking the other day also, that we can learn about it, we can research and document, but if we don't know how to pick up a word and how to, you know, how much weight of stone is that, how to chisel it out, we really can't take it forward, because that is the physical endurance also needs to carry forward along with the knowledge. So, you know, to practice that, make mistakes and see how it reflects down the line. So this was one of the projects where we used a lot of joinery systems, but also merged it with the value, like, you know, the aesthetics that the modern life wants. And it's very different than something that was happening in the vernacular architecture. Life is changing, the user activities are changing, how we are using spaces are changing, and hence that knowledge will also adapt, which has been adapting for many years. Every 50, 25 years, the knowledge is being adapted and evolved. And hence, you know, start doing some experimentations with that, you know, like bending of wood. I was always fascinated when we were, you know, learning that how somebody can bend wood. But then when we got a chance, we thought, let's try to do that, you know, and with the material, with the experimentation, we kind of figured that out. And you know, then there are this is another project where everything was recycled and upcycled. So every piece of wood that was coming into this building was either reclaimed from an old house or something that was being used as a burning of wood, and people were looking at it as a fuel wood. We tried to reuse that and design according to the material availability, rather than we designing first and then finding materials for that. And this project became, we call it like a house of many hands, because, you know, for the first time in this project, the idea was to also revive the community culture that used to happen during the building process. You know, there is a ritual that was happening on the starting of it, when the first door is placed, then the first floor, and then finally when the roof is placed, there is a huge feast, and the entire village comes in. Kids are there, older people are there, you know, so that thing I wanted to revive from this building process, and I'm very happy that it turned out in that way, because women were also bringing food, and somebody was, you know, bringing their grandkids, and they all were playing around with mud and stone and wood, and we were building. So, you know, not treating building as something like a construction thing that is happening, but like a playground in the village. So that was very interesting about this. This is another project which was it happened in Ahmedabad, where we were given a photograph of a Pagoda Shailee temple, which is very common in Nepal and Western Himalayan region. And we had a challenge because it was being built in Ahmedabad. So, we figured out what kind of wood was available there. We looked at old pole houses in Ahmedabad, which wood was being used. And to my surprise, it was the Deodar wood from the Himalayan region only. So,
They brought it all the way.
yeah. At that time, and most of the pole houses are built with Deodar wood. And so the stone was brought, some wood was got, and then we also trained some local artisans there. But our team first time traveled outside. These young 25, 23-year-old artisans, they traveled outside Kullu, not even Himachal, but outside Kullu, and then we took a flight, landed in Ahmedabad. It was a cultural exchange. So, that feeling of pride in something that is yours started coming, and it really helped in team building and coming together. And now more young people are motivated to join us and work on this. And yeah, so these are some of the things. It's entirely built on a wooden structural framework, and we have taken some elements from the olden pagoda Shaili. This is another experimentation with the roofing styles and different projects. Different textures also, so mud plaster, stone work, Dhajji Diwari, which is basically a cross-brace technique of earthquake-resilient architecture. And Katkuni was the another one which was used in the temple project. From doing all of these projects, one thing is common, that we are experimenting and we are learning and we are developing the teams together. But at the same time, it is very important to preserve the buildings that were built in the past, because that scale to rebuild now is very tough. The towers of Chenikoti and the castle of Naggar and Bhima Kali temple and all, these are massively scaled projects in the vernacular architecture systems. And now that kind of project, I don't know it will happen or not. So to preserve those buildings also becomes another responsibility. And to carry forward that knowledge through projects is another responsibility, I feel. And hence we are documenting a lot of knowledge. After documentation, it becomes very important to share that knowledge. So with the budding architects, designers, artisans, I think it is so important that we share the values that were carried forward, and hence they also can have a chance of thinking and reflecting that what they want to do with their life, and to explain, what kind of activities can happen. Again, bringing women together into the processes is also very important. Mapping of craftspeople is one of the other things that I felt needs more attention, because people think that there are no artisans left, but when you look at Himachal, there are so many, and I think in every other region. How the cities were planned earlier, how they have to adapt now because of the tourism is booming, and infrastructure is rapidly coming. So there needs to be a urban scale planning also, which we can learn from the older settlements of the mountains. And finally, a practice that is driven not only on the design tables, but also at the site with the craftspeople, with the material, is very important, and to play around with that. And finally, compiling this oral knowledge into a documentation that can, live longer. So this is some of the works that we are doing, and I can, I think this is enough, and we can move forward.
So next, thank you, Rahul. Thank you so much. Yeah. Next, I think, is Radhika. So Radhika is now running the Auroville Earth Institute, and as I said, it is my alma mater, and I would leave the talking to Radhika.
So I will just go through some of the images of our projects. I haven't necessarily chosen the most glamorous pictures, but pictures which speaks about the road of realizations and the journey. And thank you very much for inviting, because I think this also gave me a chance to reflect on the journey of a sustainable architect and the realizations that come along in a very articulate way, so to speak. Like, yeah, we keep reflecting, but it gives a chance to articulate them and put them forward. So this is one of the project when I joined Earth Institute that I had really a good luck to work on. It is Sharanam Village Development Center. So it was a campus planning. And for the phase one, there were other architects who came to Earth Institute for our training courses. So if maybe not everybody knows about Earth Institute or the works of Earth Institute. So we are based in Auroville, South India, and we specialize in earthen architecture, especially stabilized earthen architecture. So we design and build, but we also give a lot of focus on training and empowering. So regularly we have a lot of training courses where we get students, architects, engineers, builders, contractors, masons, whoever would like to build with earth. And we do a lot of research as well on the material and also on the equipments that go along with them, right? So this project was one of the first ones where poured earth concrete load-bearing walls, which was under research at the Earth Institute for several years. It was implemented. And this was a project where the soil for entire building from foundation to the roof came from the site. And we can see that, so the whole campus was developed where we had dormitories, stay facilities where people can come, have different kind of training programs. And this picture for me speaks a lot, yeah?
I have to interrupt. The vault which she showed, because it is very common knowledge for us, some people wouldn't know, it is non-reinforced and there is no shutter. That means literally there is a mason standing with one line of arch and then building individual bricks by bricks by bricks. There is no steel in this.
So yeah, maybe to say a little bit more on the structural aspect of it also, right? It's a load-bearing structure. That means there is no frame, frame in traditional, especially in the Himachal areas, you have a lot of wooden frame structures, right? But mainstream, what we know of frame structure would be RCC columns and beams, right? Whereas here, earth itself is a load-bearing material, which is taking the load from the roof. And here, this is a very special vault, which is a conical shaped vault. And the span is 15 meters on the wider side, which tapers down to 6 meters, right? And the shell is completely CACB, which is compressed stabilized earth blocks. So yeah, if we are to speak a little bit more on that. Yeah, so the whole campus was designed in a very humane, or what we have also in South India, the Thinnai, outside you see there is that veranda, which is very common in many parts of the India actually. And yeah, and these are the dormitories. Again, the structural system, I think in the introduction, it was mentioned that honest architecture, so, right? So it is really honest, where earth is used even at the foundation level, at the walls level, and also at the shell level. The earth comes from below our feet, right? It's not like the earth is coming from far away, or it's being heavily processed in some other part of the world and then coming to your site. But it was right on the campus. And this is something, one of the realization along the journey, which really stayed with me. As a young architect, first project working on this and seeing the resource management, right? So the soil is being excavated on the site, and that pit is being turned to become a rainwater harvesting pit. So even in that pit, there is so much of care given that grass is planted so that the water doesn't just erode and collapse the pit which is formed. Right? And now if you go back, so now I don't have good pictures, because now when you go back, it's actually turned into a jungle here. So yeah, this for me stands for sustainability, right? Overall, resource management, natural resource management, as well as human resource management. Because whenever we do projects, we have this mission that we empower more people, we do technology transfer so that later they can go on and continue building with earth. This is another project. It is in Auroville. This is a community called Realization. Again, load-bearing, compressed stabilized earth blocks, stabilized rammed earth foundation, CACB vaults. And here, another speciality is that people from the community came together to build. So that's another topic. Auroville by itself is a very special place where people from different parts of the world are coming together with an aspiration to create a community which has the aim of human unity, right? So this was envisioned by Satprem and some of the Aurovillians, where really people from different parts of the world who were there in Auroville came together, made blocks, having no experience in construction whatsoever, but just coming together with the spirit of building a community together, which is much more rooted to the context. This is another project in Spiti Valley, very special project. Again, disaster-resistant building, having the U blocks. So the blocks that you see a ring beam, right? So the blocks that you see, these are also CACB blocks, where again, so the hidden cost of that shuttering is kind of taken care for, and you reduce the use of concrete also, right? Because that much amount is being filled by stabilized earth. And this is all raw rammed earth. Again, here there was a beautiful cross-cultural exchange that happened. The ramming technique, which we do in South India, is a little bit different than ramming technique that happens in Spiti. And so there was learning, a lot of learning. And then even the plastering techniques, lime plaster and the earth plaster was also kind of, learned from the local community, revived in some sense, and implemented in this community center. And another beautiful, very efficient technique of trom wall was used in this. So again, here there is extreme temperatures, right? It can go super cold to really warm. So this kind of mechanism where you can completely close the windows so that the heat can be trapped inside, whereas in the summer you can open it a little bit so that the ventilation kind of takes care for the temperature to cool down. Another image showing technology transfer, right? So this was done in collaboration with Habitat for Humanity in Sri Lanka. The idea was to build 300 homes. So we designed one prototype house. We trained the architects and engineers how to build with CACB and stabilized earth, since it's not really mainstream knowledge. And then we build on site with them, and then people continue. This is the image that Vinu was talking about, where this is a free spanning technique of vault construction. So there's no formwork under. Simultaneously from both the sides, the masons are just building courses of arches, which comes together and becomes a vault. It's a development of Nubian technique, which was very common in Middle East or Egypt region. And this is one of our recent projects, 33-meter span, pure compression shell, right? So it's just bricks on top, 33 meters, and compressed stabilized earth blocks. This is a meditation center that's coming up in Gujarat. Another example, just to show the multi-story use of CACB, right? So this is like 4-story structure, Vikas community in Auroville.
So thank you, Radhika. I am sure, how many of you practice in an office? So probably the one question that most of them would have is, how are you really an architect? This question I have heard. You are just a master mason. You are talking about people, community, culture. You are not really a designer. How would you answer that?
Like I started, I think designer is just an expression. And why to limit ourselves in one field, like because we have got education in that, we have got a degree in that, that doesn't really define that, that will become, that is the only guiding profession which you have to choose. And when, we look at the larger responsibility, I believe that that should be the guiding force. We were trained to look at things from a different perspective. We were taught creative design thinking. in some senses. And hence, how we look at a problem differs from somebody who has a management kind of a background or an engineering background. So we look at culture, but we also look at geology. We also look at topography, but we also see the climate. So these are so many interlinking human behavior. So that I think that background and that base doesn't define you to become only one selective professional.
So according to you, it is an integrated process. It is not something that begins from a table and ends in a table.
No, and it should not be like that.
So hi, this is Kirti. I'm an architect and I've done my furniture design from Sept University. And with me, we run a studio where we do a lot of architecture, which Udit will talk about. And we do a lot of products and installations as well. Choosing sustainability as such was not something which happened, overnight, that I want to work on sustainable materials or things like that. It started with working with crafts. And soon I realized down the way that when we actually work with vernacular techniques and vernacular ways, we eventually address things which shapes our life towards sustainability. Basically for me, sustainability is something where we use basic common sense with our designs, with our lifestyle, and move ahead. So I'll just run through the kind of work we do, which gives you an idea of what we do. So like I told you that we started with something with craft to do, and we chose material as rattan. We work from Calcutta, and the craft which you see the artisans working over one of the installations which we have planned. These are the details, and these are craftsmen. So regarding the craftsmen, we work specially in the Bengal region. And just a minute. Yeah, these are the areas where we work in Bengal. And we realize that though the craftsmen are very much skilled, but there is still a major gap in what is required in terms of very finished products and what is being done right now. So I think here we are trying to bridge a gap. So this is the process also is a very important part of how we do and what we do. So we start with initial sketches like you see, and then we conceptualized further with 3D renders and 3D softwares. And these are the installations which we work, or we have worked before, with different templates of bending and ribbing and assembly. So for us, it is not that whenever we do a project, it's not always that we procure materials from Northeast only. We try to procure materials from whichever part we are working in. If it's in Hyderabad, we try to procure materials from Hyderabad so that there's a sustainable angle towards the projects which we are working on.
So next is Udit.
So hi, I'm Udit. Like Kirti said, we run our studio together in Kolkata. So our studio is called QX Design. QX stands for questions and experiences. So I thought, okay, so this is an image which was taken right after after a play ended in college. It's one of the happiest moments where actually I was wanting to take more theater than architecture. So my course into architecture was not the kind of, even though we are known to be doing more sustainable architecture, but it wasn't right, as much as what Radhika, and it's like a lot about bringing down the entire embodied energy, but it was, of course, one of the aspects. The other aspect was that I wanted to have more fun and enjoy and create some experiences. And then when I learned that, okay, if that can be done with natural materials, then why not, okay? So this is briefly the journey right from college, a stint in Auroville, Pondicherry. Then I was in Bhubaneswar for 4.5 years, working in a rather so-called commercial but sensible architectural project for a residential school. Then, of course, with Vinu, which kind of brought a whole change in perspective and possibilities, and then took questions and experiences that we call QX Design. So what I believed, there was this one interview by Alejandro Aravina where he said that it's important to ask the right questions before jumping into the answers, which kind of caught me. That line got picked up, and we thought it's more about first, why, what, and how, but there got to be a wow. And that kind of, keeps us more fueled up because we also chase a lot of excitement and enjoyment when we work. I would like to share this one project which has caught a lot of recognition. We won quite a few awards for this, simply because it's in a context of Sundarbans, which is highly cyclone prone, yet we have tried to work entirely with local materials and local workers. I would like to mention one of my mentor, Laurent Fournier, who is a French architect who helped me in the entire structural, it's a very composite structural system which he helped me with. These are some of the interior pictures, more like a jungle view. You can see the layering of thatch panels, which is done without any waterproofing, and it kind of gets like 15 to 18 inches thick. It's a view of the veranda. Even the lower space, just like Radhika was talking about how we can span walls without any formwork and without any, so these are also shallow domes which have been done without any formwork, just that we had tension beams, and which I actually love this space the most in this project because it kind of, while we have the guest rooms more for the exclusive donors of this NGO where the project is, the lower space is pretty inclusive and very seamless to let all the gardeners or whoever is working in the campus to just come down and rest. And I believe it was the biggest win in this project because to convince an NGO where you already have a very low budget to not build something where they can just simply enclose a room and create something to lock or make a dining room. So keeping that, so to look at it, what we couldn't build was the biggest win. So, And quickly, I will just go through these spaces. This is something that we are doing now. It's a very new experimentation of making a shallow dome with bamboos and which are also bent. Again, I would like to mention Laurent Fournier in helping me with this. This is like an elliptical floor plate with 23 feet by 18 feet of span. It's an upcoming guest house. This is, I think, just a pic from a couple of days before from the site. And that's the way we, with our team. Then the other space that we are doing a lot of work is in the north of Bengal, which is near Siliguri. This is inside the Makaibari Tea Gardens. So what we are happy with, this is we did in collaboration with another very interesting company, which does a lot of nice bamboo products also, Mianzi. And we are lifting arches which may have weighed more than a ton even. There are like 11 of them. I had some very good friends. I would also want to mention Rahul, my friend, and Ajmalda. Ajmalda, with him, we are planning to do a lot more work now over the years with more of bamboo architecture. We have come to a finesse which looks something like this. This is the latest project. It kind of covers 780 square feet of roof area. And people keep talking a lot about, having Balinese kind of finishes and all, but we're not chasing the exact Balinese architecture, but we just enjoy doing work with a lot of bamboo because why not? Because we can, because, it can still last. And I would answer more questions when we ask. Please be free to ask whatever questions you have.
Yeah. So one of the basic things that most of the practitioners here, and including myself, you can see that it is not possible to get this particular craftsman out in the market. You go and search for, one person and that fellow starts it. So there is a lot of skill development. So my question to Rahul is, did you already find master masons who had that skill developed? Did you? Yes.
Not exactly, because there were people. My agenda initially was to understand and learn what was happening and why it is not happening right now.
So at least that particular culture was still there in
Culture,
Himachal Pradesh.
definitely.
Okay. But if I am asking that question to Radhika, because I know Radhika is, and I hail from the same institute. Our director, Satpray Maini, literally taught everything from scratch to literally local people, isn't it? And that is how the training actually began. Now, Rahul ji has already had some craftspeople there. And we had at least a Satprem to teach us at least the basic things that we could teach. Now, the big question that most of the people have is that we don't really learn from our colleges any of these vocational practices. And I know for a truth that many a time, makers or masonry practices are often looked down a bit, during my tenure at college also. So when you decided that you wanted to go for sustainable architecture, it actually became indispensable that you have to learn the craft even before you do one drawing on site. It became very sure that I cannot just go into the market and ask for somebody to start making the brick arches, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So my question is, without the help from college, without help from an architecture college, how difficult it is to train from locality. Can you talk a bit about that? You know, the training process that Auroville Earth Institute has.
So at Earth Institute, by now there are really good systems in place, which makes it so much more accessible. Especially that it is also the prices of workshops, right? Like
Does
many times,
Ayyappan Jettan
yeah.
tell any old stories? Well, like when he started, because Ayyappan Jettan was the first person
He
to
was the
start
first,
it.
trainee.
At
Yes.
that time, was there any stories of how hard it was to find local people? For example, there might be aspiring architects in here who wants to start. They learn the techniques. We all do workshops. All four of us do workshops, and there are multiple places where there are workshops happening. Many of you do it. But the real question is how difficult it is to literally get this moving, you know, because unless and until we get a project, we are literally without money. We are consultants.
Yes.
Yeah. So is there any story from that? If not, Udit, I think, would have some stories just to kickstart that procedure.
You know, when we were talking about the Sundarbans project, the guest house. So
This one.
This one is Urmika. Like this one is just a kind of a gazebo.
But the first one,
the
previous
first one, the
Yeah.
first one with the thatch roofing, which which has a do-chala roof, which is the story of this project is not like we just got this project and that's how we were able to get people, all local people from the village, to make something so composite. Before we did this, there was another project where we make 3 different prototypes. The endeavor in the village was what can bring in cyclone resilience at a habitable level, like for a home, not a cyclone shelter. So the whole thing was how to make a still system with a strong roof. So we made 3 small cottages. That exercise became a skill transfer exercise for the local people.
For the very start, you are saying that it was a conventional process, and then it moved on to alternate process.
It was a process which required me and a couple of others like Loha to stay in the village for 2.5 and 3 months.
So now you understand why we don't have offices. So now
Where-
I hope you guys understand why we don't have offices. You know? So for any architect who is thinking about, okay, I want to do some sustainable practice, you just heard about Rahul, like being with the craftsmen. He at least had some, like there was some master craftsman, but still he had to literally, like get together all these people. And of course for Kirti also, not leaving her out of the conversation, but literally for any practicing person who wants to practice it, the reason why most of us don't have office, and initially Satprime also was kind of more or less in the site and everything, and it only came later, no? Our institute came much later, yes?
No, the institute was always there because he had the training from Krater, right? And there was some knowledge in the village, but people would say, like Ayyappan and all would say, like their grandparents or somebody would build with mud, right? And then with Earth Institute, especially the case is that like you're bringing a different angle of stabilized earth, or you are bringing CACB, which is a relatively 19th century developed technique.
See, the technique that was done in the villages as compared to CACB is the difference between a cycle and Mercedes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't, both are called vehicles, but
Yes.
like the traditional techniques are much different from that.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the questions that I had when I started, because that is how I ended up officeless, I rented out a space and basically wanted to do my practice, but I found out that most of the time these guys would stop work without any question, because they are like, okay, we just hit a roadblock and we just stop. So we had to be literally with them for most of the time. This really would affect our design process, isn't it? So how did you guys go forward with the design process? Like for example, whatever I saw, there are beautiful designs, there are beautiful organic designs. Like all are showing beautiful designs. If you don't have time in office, that would be a general question. If you don't have any time to spend in an office, you are literally running around with masons and workers and telling them how to literally tie a knot and stuff like that. How and where does design happen?
So the design happens with them as well. So it's not always that we imagine of a concept by sketches and through 3Ds and we go there and we think that this is what's going to come exactly the same. So there's a lot of learning and unlearning with the craftsmen when we are sitting with them. And it's not that, in one day, it takes a week's time. It takes time that we go to their village, we try to understand their craftologies, and then, moderate our designs accordingly that we can work cohesively. It is not one-handed that only we design and they make. It's also like what we are learning, what they are learning from us, and that is how it goes forward. So it's very dependent on each other. It's like, we all are dependent on each other when we design things like this. For instance, like Udit was saying, when he went to Sundarbans, he stays there for months to get the things done, because it has to be experimented. Like, there's a lot of experimentations also which are going on. So yeah.
Now we get a lot of collaborative insights from the mason there.
Yeah, exactly.
He will tell Dada, you can do it this way also. I wanted to highlight, since we are talking about skills and transfer, see, at times I realized our role has always, not always, but many times has been more of a bridge. I want to talk about two main techniques in this project. Let's say the thatching and shallow domes, okay? It transferred from a mason from Muzaffarnagar, where the first time Hunarshala found out this shallow dome technique in India. There they would call it Urbi domes. Must have come from Persia. Hunarshala did this whole, standardization and understanding, documentation of that. And they taught to one of my mentor, Loha Fournier, Sandeep Vermani. Loha tried it somewhere in Odisha. Then he taught another mason in Sundarbans, who taught the masons in this village, with whom I learned.
Oh, wow.
So there is a human chain. And similarly for thatching, it has actually taken some inspiration from alang-alang grass technique in Bali. So here the thatching technique is not the vernacular village technique. We actually make 70% of the labor work is done on the ground by making a panel. So I think it is not many times when these projects get published, they pose me as if I have done the whole innovation and everything. I feel I'm more like a bridge here who has taken the accountability to do it at the risk of, getting it done. And whatever it takes, if I've got to be there or what. But it's not like all the techniques. We have tried to, take inspiration from other places and then worked it out. So, yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
I agree on this point because, like, let's say there is an old technique and it kind of lost, like in Himachal, if I talk in that reference, nobody was now making katkuni houses. But at the end of the day, it was building with wood and stone. That knowledge is still there, that physical endurance and that skill was still there. So, our role becomes of that bridge there where we can basically try to see how it was and how it should happen now and what kind of skill development is required around that. So to create those systems, like you were saying, now the systems are placed. I was thinking in my mind, we are on that journey right now. Like for us, there is no architecture firm who was, trying to revive that thing before. And, it became a very initial step. Like you were saying that initially, there were some kind of earth blocks building in that region, but now even you have adapted it because now our exposure is much more. So, how to bring that thing together is one of the things. And to add on to that, now I believe earlier the craftsperson, the head craftsperson was the one who was designing, understanding, and also building. Abhi, problem is this, that the skill has been with some people, but the design thinking is also not there, that much. How to kind of integrate, what we can innovate, how to take that knowledge, but, shift it a little differently. So that aspect is where the design comes in. And we have to balance those two things.
If you put effort for this, it's obviously not money coming from any of our houses. It is some client's money which we are utilizing. And somewhere too, I think it's true for saying it, I know many times Satparam put money into the project, losses and everything. And I think it's, all of us are having the same smile, all of us have put money into the project. We have gone into losses and everything, and so much of money we have lost, It would be nice to share some of that money loss experience. No, I think that is the reality here, guys. So some of you, I have been often quoted in many scenarios, like as starting architecture and stuff like that, and like there is many people think that like architects are supposed, we did this 5-year course and then we studied a lot, so we are supposed to have this minimum level of salary and stuff like that. So I would really like to point out the fact of how much loss that initially years took, no? So
I don't know, my parents were very worried at that time because they thought that I am going back into a jungle or some village and, he will ruin his life. But, like I think I've never seen it as money loss. I would say that
Parents would have seen it as money loss. Your parents would have seen it as money loss.
No.
You
So-
didn't see it.
No, let me explain that. The perspective how we look at money loss, like it's not important for me initially after just going out from my degree to earn like, let's say 50K per month.
Yes.
That was not the aim.
Yeah.
The aim was to kind of survive,
Ah.
but also give myself that much of time so that I can learn. But definitely from an entrepreneurial point of view, we have to build systems where people will be economically, it will become your responsibility once the
Still
teams
you are
start
not
coming.
ready to say how much you lost.
I don't like,
Necklace.
the
Gold
money
necklace.
that never came, I never lost that.
Oh,
So
okay.
let me put it in that way. Yeah.
I can
Udit,
share my
with it.
first project story. Okay?
Please.
See, first of all, I would like to give a disclaimer. Take inspiration on your own risk, on this. And because I felt I would never share this with juniors, especially
Radhika, you
for-
have a big story
because,
coming up. You know that, no?
So it was a very small project. It was just a rooftop work that we had to do for a client. And in fact, I also...
Client I introduced, yes?
No, that client...
That terrace fellow.
Yeah.
The terrace fellow, I came to you to do something with brick walls, and then we ended up doing ferro cement on it.
Okay, okay.
Which was one of my best projects, like dearest projects so far. And it has the worst and the best experience of. So after 1 year of sketching and going to that site and trying to understand what should be done, it was the first project. I wanted to do it like perfect. One morning after shower, I was like, whatever the client says, we are going to do it this way. I've got this brilliant idea, and I'll just convince the client. So client liked it, but they were like, how much it will do? I said, it will be done in 1 lakh. Like, I had no clue then. And then I said, if you're going to do it this way, I will also.
You said you will put money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is why I was not wanting to say this, and I'm saying to take.
Yeah, so that is one big
I
no-no.
won't say, I didn't say I will take
So this
money.
we all learned very late in life. Do not even offer money. Under no circumstance,
No, I said I'll get funded.
show vulnerability. That is one thing
I said,
which.
I'll find some funding one to do, but
Vinu,
I got to
my
do it this
my
way.
first project was also this.
I
Government
asked
gave
you,
me
you didn't
now I got to know. Like what to say. So it was an old heritage building, and it was a government project, and they said, okay, we'll give you the permission to restore it, but find money how to restore it. So I had to kind of earn through workshops and through that place, and that money went into the restoration of that public building.
I was teaching at a fashion college.
Yeah.
Okay, some graphic design and all to stay. I was playing guitar in a cafe.
You was playing what
I
in a
was
cafe?
playing guitar in a cafe because that would
to get the money.
To fund
because
that
that would
project.
get 20,000
the
more for
project.
The
me.
project, he
No,
played
no.
guitar in a
He
cafe.
used
I have to also survive. No,
To make the ends meet.
it will add to whatever I'm learning. Getting.
I made coffee. I was a barista in a coffee shop. So to survive. No, our boss has the best story. Continue, madam. No, our boss has the best story, and this is way past his age of 60. No, yes, very recently, isn't it? So that story probably Radhika is too traumatized to say that. I don't want her to, So Satprime is more than a guru, like a father and everything. And so every year I would go with my children and have him. We will have a dinner, and then we will ask some, like chit chat. Satprime, how was this new building which you did? Yes, I lost some 20 lakh. And I am like, how did you lose it? Client didn't allow to build, so I put 20 lakh from my pocket and built it. And here is this person who is how many years senior to us? At least 30, 40 years senior to us. 30 years senior to us, who is still losing money on that forefront. You get it? So this particular part, we are not saying just so that, like we can scare you off or anything. But the initial start is often not an easy thing. And I can tell you one story from my side. Okay. So my father, so I became an orphan as soon as I passed in architecture, no money. I just had the name of my father. So utilizing his name became my only way to get something. So me and my junior will be there. We would go to, on Sunday, we would particularly target Sunday, concreting. We would go to a neighbor's house and say, I am son of this guy. Auntie, unfortunately, we ran out of cement. We need some cement. So we found that they have some cement in their backyard. They are doing some of their construction. So we told just 2 bags of cement, please give us for the day that anyway that concreting cannot be messed up. And they are like, okay, this is son of this known fellow. We can give it and everything. And then while taking, I said, we brought this big petty auto. We will take the rest of the bags and bring it back on Monday. And then I would vanish. And then people would come knocking at my mom is still alive. And then my mom would get frustrated and I would have to vanish. So this was how basically the initial start of literally every architect that happens. And it is, in some sense, we can all say, we are looking back at it in a joking way, isn't it? It's no more such a hurdle for us.
There was a very sure perspective, like you were talking about what was the perspective. My perspective was that I'm not going to do masters. I'm going to spend
You saved that money of masters.
I'm going to spend next 5 years in learning a lot of techniques, move around, travel around, instead of doing that, and I'll work on field and apply the same thing in my practice for.
Anybody in here who did masters and then lost money?
Me.
Oh.
No, but in masters only I felt that,
Radhika also did masters. Okay.
Yeah, even I
masters
did.
was the
I
time
did
when
masters, yeah.
I was kind of, like it gave me time to research and, like really understand my roots again, that was, I feel it was a very important time.
Masters wasn't that expensive.
That I don't really know. But, okay, so I wanted to sum up the entire this conversation you were saying in two main parts that, these are the important steps. We are laughing right now, but everybody kind of struggled and we know what kind of phase that was.
Yes.
But what kept us going, that is important. And why we did those steps, why we tried to manage every single day was because we wanted to know, we knew that there is something bigger to this vision that we have to reach to. For me, that was actually one of the major things.
I know this is a very, very sensitive point for Radhika because our institute is still facing a lot of issues. What keeps you going? You don't cry.
No, it is somewhere the faith, definitely. And I think it's also, it's like holding the fort, but also because that fort means something, right? Like when we come across people like you and so many other people who are going out of there and doing incredible work. So it just means like, okay, this place needs anchoring, right? And then it almost becomes like a duty, no? It almost becomes like a dharma to not step away, but to really hold the fort. So it's really that.
Okay, so now moving on to another discussion.
No, I want to answer what keeps us going also.
Please.
It is not actually initially, yes, sustainability and all. Now it is more about this architecture and it's the excitement of architecture. There's nothing more. To do, if that day when we were making theater or architecture, I was like, okay, architecture gives me more kick. If doing that is giving me more kick, that keeps me going. There's no other thing which can give me a better kick.
That's the wow.
That is, exactly.
Also, like, what you really enjoy. If we keep practicing that and if we keep doing that, like faith comes to picture, we obviously pave our ways towards it. Like, there needs to be grit and passion towards what you're doing at the end of the day. I think that
but
is
also
more
it's an
important.
investment of time and energy. And you know that, okay, one day, it's first day the systems are not built, first day.
One day this will happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, Rahul, I can come and he is having a vision and all. See, for me, I feel sustainability has become more of an interesting thing. In college and all, we would got to know more than 50% is construction energy, global construction industry. Those things is impacted. Now it is more like a intrinsic thing. Sustainability is more of just two things. What I've summed it to is one is common sense, the sensibility that resources are finite. That's it. If you are using something which is around. Second is kindness, compassion. If I don't want to eat everything, I want to do it sensibly. So if you are sensible, actually we don't like the tags of sustainable and all.
I can understand why we don't like the tag of sustainability because basically for us it has become an internal clock.
Exactly.
We are anyway doing it. So now we are like, so the actual fact is that the general architecture crowd, for them, sustainability is still something out of reach.
That is very incomprehensible for me to understand actually, because I'm maybe in there. It's very difficult to understand.
Now they must have understood it is more out of reach.
If we are establishing there is common sense and compassion, what could be anything defying this to?
Exactly.
There is this Anna Harringer says, no, form follows love.
Form follows love.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful line. I feel it's, see, there was, if you just have an architecture born out of love, compassion, and those values, it will be intrinsically more sensitive and softer.
Yeah, I could see that when initially Rahul was talking, like the love for the culture, for his community and everything, that really reciprocates in the basic architecture thing, What about you? What holds your fort,
See, for
Udit?
me, not
My
just
fort is
Udit,
held by her. That's the other way around, bro.
Correct comeback, okay.
It's more about loving what you do at the end of the day. That is it. Like being compassionate. Just for instance, I'll just give a very basic example of a common sense. We are staying in Le Méridien Hotel. It's a huge courtyard and there's a huge roof above, and most of the time it's just dark the entire day. Had they thought that there could be a bit of skylight on top, a bit of glass on top, there could be less of electricity being used in such a huge building. So, it's just very common sense and common things that we integrate in our designs and our lifestyle. I think that itself would help us to work better and be better in life. Yeah.
So in some sense, we can sum it up by saying, like what Udit said or Radhika said, that common sense should prevail. The future is in this scenario. It should prevail, even though the path is not really a nice asphalt road. It is not something which is non-achievable, because all of us are exclusively practicing eco-friendly architecture at this point of time, and now not in debt. Yes. So I think that is kind of good after maybe like 20 years of
We are
practice.
doing very well.
Very well.
Very well.
Very good.
Well,
So
very
that is a good way to
Awesomely
stop.
well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
everyone.
Thank you.